What if I told you Scorpio isn't just a zodiac sign, it's a spiritual assignment? A soul that was sent here to teach the world about rebirth, truth, intensity, and the transformative power of pain? In today's world of superficial affirmations and aesthetic astrology, we forget the ancient roots of zodiac archetypes. But Scorpio cannot be diluted. Scorpio is the fire under still water, the phoenix rising from ashes, the one who walks between life and death with calm eyes and an unshakable soul. This is the path to Buddhist wisdom, and in this series, we'll uncover the 20 sacred talents believed to be given by God, or Dharma, to Scorpio souls. These aren't mere personality traits. These are spiritual endowments, a divine blueprint that reveals why Scorpio is often misunderstood, deeply powerful, and spiritually magnetic. So grab your tea. Sit back. Let's walk through the shadows together. Fire number 20, the gift of transformation. Scorpio's life is not a straight line. It's a series of burnings and rebirths. When others see ruin, Scorpio sees a doorway. When others say the end, Scorpio silently whispers, begin again. We often romanticize the phoenix, but what does burning to the ground actually feel like? For Scorpio, it feels like being betrayed by the person they trusted most and still choosing to forgive. It feels like losing everything they once held sacred: career, love, identity, and deciding to rebuild, piece by sacred piece. This is more than resilience. This is transmutation. In Buddhist philosophy, this resembles anicca, the principle of impermanence. Scorpio doesn't just accept change, they embody it. They understand that nothing is fixed, that suffering is seasonal, and that death always gives birth to a new form. Scorpio's transformation is sacred alchemy. Nazar amulet number 19, vision beyond the veil. Some people hear words. Scorpio hears intentions. Some people see smiles. Scorpio sees sadness behind them. God, or karma, gave Scorpio the ability to read energy, not faces. When they walk into a room, they don't look around for approval, they scan for truth. It's not paranoia, it's perception. This is the spiritual equivalent of what Buddhism calls vipassana, clear seeing. A Scorpio can tell when someone's words are saying yes, but their soul is screaming no. It's an intuitive sense honed through silence, solitude, and survival. I once had a Scorpio client, a quiet middle-aged woman named Hannah, who worked in HR. She once told me, "People come to me thinking they're fooling me with their politeness. I see their fear the moment they sit down." She didn't learn that from textbooks. She learned it from lifetimes of watching people become their secrets. Broken heart number 18, the sacred depth of emotion. While most people surf the waves of emotion, Scorpio dives straight to the bottom. They don't just feel sadness. They become the storm. They don't just love. They merge. That intensity has cost them, misunderstood by family, labeled too much by lovers, and often seen as mysterious or even cold by those who can't match their emotional frequency. But in truth, this gift of emotional depth is their bridge to compassion. Buddha said, pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. But for Scorpio, feeling deeply is not suffering. It is sacred participation in life. Their sorrow teaches them softness. Their passion teaches them creation. Their rage teaches them boundaries. You don't forget a Scorpio's love, and you never forget the absence of it. Sparkles number 17, magnetic presence. There's something about Scorpio that draws you in, and they're not even trying. This isn't charm. It's gravitational force. It's the stillness in their stare, the calm in their voice, the confidence in their silence. Scorpios don't chase. They attract. Because God, or Source, designed them to pull in what is meant for them without noise. In Buddhist meditation, we often speak about non-doing. Letting go of effort, letting energy arise naturally. That's Scorpio's magnetism. It's not loud. It's not performative. It simply exists. I've seen this firsthand. A Scorpio monk I met in Nepal barely spoke the entire retreat. Yet when he finally offered a word, the whole room leaned in. That's power. That's presence. That's Scorpio. Shield number 16, iron will. Once Scorpio decides, it's done. This isn't ego. It's sacred focus. They may hesitate before choosing, but when they commit, it's spiritual warriorship. Their will doesn't break in the face of hardship. If anything, pain sharpens their determination. This is similar to adhina in Buddhism, the perfection of resolution. The vow to hold fast to truth regardless of difficulty. Scorpios will says, I will walk through fire for what I believe in, even if no one else joins me. Many Scorpios I've counseled in trauma healing are often those who kept pushing forward when doctors gave up hope, when partners left, when society labeled them too broken. That's not stubbornness. That's soul-level conviction. Red Heart Fire number 15, Divine Passion. Scorpio's passion isn't just in romance. It's in everything they touch. When a Scorpio writes, they bleed into the paper. When they raise a child, they pour soul into every decision. When they build a business, they're not just chasing money. They're sculpting legacy. This passion is not chaotic. It's intentional fire. And in Buddhist terms, it aligns with right effort, one of the eightfold path. When applied skillfully, this force is unstoppable. A Scorpio woman I once interviewed ran a nonprofit for survivors of domestic abuse. She said, "I don't know how to work halfway. If I can't give my soul to it, I won't do it." That's Scorpio. They don't participate in life, they immerse. Diamond with dot number 14, Healing without words. Scorpios are not afraid of pain because they've met it in every form. And that's exactly what makes them natural healers. But not the loud kind. Not the ones waving crystals or quoting mantras. Their healing comes through presence, through sitting in silence beside your grief until it breathes again. This is a talent that transcends medicine or training. It's what we call in Buddhism compassion born from suffering. I remember a Scorpio trauma counselor named Joseph who used to sit with combat veterans. He barely spoke, but the men cried in his office, men who hadn't cried in decades. Why? Because Scorpio doesn't flinch at brokenness. They've been broken, and that's why they can hold space for others who are. It's not therapy. It's sacred witnessing. Brick number 13, Absolute Resilience, the soul that rebuilds. If there is one thing God gave Scorpio in abundance, it's spiritual endurance. When others collapse under betrayal, loss, humiliation, Scorpio walks forward, slowly, deliberately, reshaping their identity from the wreckage. This is not just survival. It's resurrection. Buddhism teaches us that attachment leads to suffering, and Scorpio's life is often a classroom in letting go. Whether it's a friendship turned to dust, a family that never loved them right, or a dream that dissolved, Scorpio learns how to mourn, then move. Sparkle's real example. I once worked with a Scorpio woman who was left at the altar, publicly humiliated. Instead of hiding, she flew to Nepal, meditated for 40 days in a monastery, and came back to start a coaching practice for heartbroken women. That's Scorpio. They don't just bounce back. They rise back holier. Bell// number 12, The Sacred Silence. Some people speak to be heard. Scorpio listens to understand. There's a kind of silence Scorpio carries that is louder than speech. It's not awkward. It's not passive. It's charged with energy. In Buddhist tradition, there's a powerful practice called noble silence, not just not speaking, but being so present that your silence becomes a mirror for truth. That's Scorpio. Their quietness disarms. It opens space. It often frightens people, not because Scorpio is angry, but because Scorpio is aware. I once sat in a circle with a Scorpio who said nothing for an hour. But when they finally spoke one sentence, everyone froze. Because Scorpio doesn't throw words, they deliver them with soul. Their silence is a sacred instrument, and it echoes long after they leave the room. Candle number 11, Courage to walk into darkness. While others avoid grief, death, shame, or shadow work, Scorpio walks toward it with reverence. That's because God gave them what I call soul bravery. They weren't made for comfort. They were made for transformation. And the only way to transform anything is to face the dark. Scorpios are not fearless. They're just spiritually prepared. In Buddhist psychology, there's a practice of contemplating death not to scare us, but to wake us up. Scorpio does this instinctively. They don't run from endings. They study them. They sit beside dying relatives. They journal through heartbreak. They walk alone through phases others wouldn't survive. Not because they enjoy pain, but because they understand that all healing begins in the dark. Crystal ball number 10, razor-sharp intuition. Call it a sixth sense. Call it psychic radar. But Scorpio's intuition doesn't whisper, it rings like a bell. They know who's lying. They sense betrayal before it happens. They can feel energy shifts even when nothing is said. I had a Scorpio coworker who once paused mid-lunch and said, "My sister's not okay." She hadn't spoken to her sister in weeks. When she called, her sister had just been in a car accident that exact hour. Coincidence? Or soul sensing? In the Buddhist concept of prajna, transcendent wisdom, there's a level of knowing that goes beyond logic. Scorpios live there. They don't always explain their instincts, but when they follow them, they're rarely wrong. Their mind analyzes, but their soul navigates. Handshake number 9, loyalty as a sacred vow. Scorpio's loyalty is not built on convenience. It's built on soul recognition. When a Scorpio decides to stand beside you, it's not just a choice. It's a spiritual contract. This is not loyalty that flickers when tested. It's the kind that holds through storm, silence, and shadow. And once given, it's nearly impossible to lose, unless you betray it. In Buddhist practice, the ideal of sakka, truthfulness, involves faithfulness to what is real, not what is easy. Scorpio embodies this. They are loyal, not because it feels good, but because it is right. Sparkle's story. A Scorpio friend of mine once said, "I'll take a bullet for someone I love. But if they lie, it's over. Not because I hate them, but because the bond broke at the soul level." That's the power and fragility of Scorpio's loyalty. It's deep, fierce, holy, and it never forgets who honored it or who didn't. Milky Way number 8. Connection to the mystical. From childhood, many Scorpios feel like they're tuned into another frequency. They dream in symbols. They sense spirits. They're drawn to the metaphysical as if pulled by invisible threads. This isn't fantasy. It's spiritual memory. In Buddhist teachings, there is the concept of bumis, levels of realization that awaken spiritual perception. Scorpio doesn't just believe in these realms. They feel them. They may not call themselves psychic, but their presence thins the veil between this world and the next. Many Scorpios become healers, occultists, astrologers, or shamans, not to impress, but to answer a call that's haunted them since birth. They're not afraid of the unseen. They live beside it. Man Detective number 7. The gift of mystery. Scorpio doesn't show their hand. They don't share their story unless it's earned. And even then, they leave pieces untold. Why? Because their soul is deep. Because some truths are too sacred to speak. And because mystery is protection. In a world obsessed with oversharing, Scorpio reminds us that not everything is meant for the spotlight. Their silence invites curiosity. Their mystique keeps others off balance and respectful. This trait mirrors a Buddhist idea known as upaya, skillful means. Scorpio reveals what's needed. Nothing more, nothing less. They don't manipulate. They preserve the sacred. They don't seek to be figured out. They ask to be felt. And that is why people can't stop thinking about them, even years later. Number 6. The hypnotic gaze. There's something in Scorpio's eyes that most people can't explain. They're not just looking at you. They're reading you. Their gaze is ancient, penetrating. It feels like standing naked in front of the truth. You'll find this gaze in therapists, monks, lovers, and strangers who know too much without asking. It's not performance, it's presence. A monk once told me, there are eyes that see and eyes that remember. Scorpio's eyes do both. In Buddhist meditation, we talk about drishti, a gaze that anchors the mind and focuses the spirit. Scorpio does this effortlessly. One glance, and the room shifts. Their stare can soothe or scorch, but it always awakens something inside you. Brain number 5. Strategic emotional intelligence. Scorpio isn't just emotional. They're emotionally aware, and that's rare. They feel everything, and yet they know when to reveal nothing. Their gift isn't just passion. It's precision. They know when a word heals or when silence cuts deeper. This is the type of intelligence Buddhists call manasikara, wise attention. It means Scorpio doesn't just feel, they interpret feeling like a language. Sparkle's example. A Scorpio leader I once coached told me this. When someone insults me, I don't react. I observe why they need to do it. Then I decide if it's worth responding. Most times it's not. That's Scorpio. Still on the surface, calculating underneath. But never cold, just careful. Their emotional mastery allows them to protect themselves without walls and protect others without control. Crystal ball number 4. Psychic strength, the power beyond sight. Of all the signs, Scorpio is most often associated with the unseen. But beyond intuition, there's something more ancient, more potent, a psychic strength that functions like a soul compass. They know without knowing how. They sense without proof. They react to energies others can't even name. This isn't coincidence. It's resonance. In Buddhist language, we speak of bhavanamaya panna, wisdom that arises through direct internal experience. Scorpios embody this. They don't just read people. They absorb frequencies, dreams, ancestral wounds, and karmic shifts, like a finely tuned instrument between worlds. Sparkle's example. A Scorpio meditation student once described walking into a crowded cafe and immediately turning around. Someone in there had just received devastating news, she said. She didn't speak to anyone. She just knew. An hour later, it was confirmed. A man inside had just gotten a call about his father's death. That's not paranoia. That's energetic awareness. And it's not a gift to control. It's a gift to protect. God, or Dharma, gave Scorpio this strength not to show off, but to guide, warn, and anchor. DNA number 3, emotional resurrection, the sacred rebuild. Scorpio is no stranger to emotional death, but what sets them apart is their capacity to regenerate, not just bounce back, but become something new entirely. Where others break permanently, Scorpio reshapes their soul. Where others stay shattered, Scorpio becomes stronger at the broken places. This mirrors the Buddhist metaphor of the lotus, a flower that grows from mud, yet emerges pure and untarnished. Scorpio's emotional pain is the mud. Their rebirth is the bloom. They don't heal by denial. They heal by entering the fire, burning to ashes, and rising again. Their scars aren't hidden. They are temples, each one a story of transformation. This is the gift that makes Scorpio a lighthouse in the storm for others. They don't just say you'll get through this. They embody it. Books number 2, Philosophical Depth, The Search for Soul Truths. While many chase entertainment, Scorpio chases essence. They ask, what does this really mean? What am I meant to learn? What lives underneath this silence? Scorpio isn't satisfied with surface-level answers. They crave the truth beneath the truth, the emotional, spiritual, and philosophical heart of life. This is reflected in the Buddhist pursuit of panna, wisdom, the highest kind of knowledge that liberates. Scorpios often dive into psychology, mysticism, theology, or even trauma work, not to impress, but to understand, to integrate what others avoid. Their minds are temples of inquiry. Their hearts are sanctuaries of insight. Sparkle's example. I once met a Scorpio who worked as a forensic investigator by day and taught meditation at night. I see death all the time, he said, but I don't want to just solve cases. I want to solve meaning. That's Scorpio, always reaching beyond the veil, not to escape life, but to decode it. Fire number 1, hidden fire, the flame no one sees, but everyone feels. And now, the final gift, perhaps the most misunderstood. Scorpio's hidden fire. Unlike Leo's roaring blaze or Aries' aggressive flame, Scorpio's fire is subterranean, controlled, focused, and eternal. It doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need applause. It simply burns. This fire fuels their loyalty, strengthens their healing, drives their passion, powers their transformation. But you often won't see it. You'll only feel it when you sit beside them and sense a gravity pulling you inward. It's a fire that says, I've walked through things I'll never speak about, and yet, I'm still here, burning, creating, loving. In Buddhist terms, this is the fire of Virya, spiritual energy that sustains practice over lifetimes. It's what keeps monks meditating for days. It's what keeps Scorpio moving forward, even after unimaginable pain. Scorpio's flame is not chaotic. It's sacred, and it was never meant to go out. Person in lotus position. Conclusion, the soul mission of Scorpio. So what do these 20 divine talents reveal? That Scorpio isn't here to be soft, palatable, or easily understood. They are here to transform, to burn away illusion, to heal through presence, to carry depth into a world afraid of shadows. They are the teachers of emotional truth, the guardians of sacred silence, the phoenixes of this human realm. And if you are a Scorpio or loved one, honor this path. It is not easy, but it is holy. Loudspeaker call to action, CTA. If this spoke to your soul, share your Scorpio story in the comments below. Have you ever risen from the ashes? Felt truth in a silence? Known things without reason? And don't forget to subscribe to the Path to Buddhist Wisdom for more cosmic truths, zodiac soul work, and deep dive storytelling that brings astrology back to its spiritual roots.